Hey traders and investors, checking in on the psychedelic and cannabis sectors. So the video last weekend, I talked a bit about my bigger picture mindset regarding these sectors and what I'm looking for heading into the fall and things like that. So going to be a shorter video today as I skip all that rather than be repeating myself. And we're just going to look at the charts and see where we stand. And most notably, we're going to be looking for signs of strength through dip buying. So I'll show you what I mean on a couple individual names. We know the broader market bulls are remaining strong. We closed at the high of the week this past week. Let's look at the S&P 500. And so again, as long as the broader market keeps grinding up, that FOMO from cash on the sidelines is going to continue ticking up as well. And we know to be keeping an eye on these sectors for breakout as long as the broader market bulls keep the daily uptrend, essentially is what I am watching for. And as we head in towards November, ideal scenario, as I mentioned last weekend, would be weekly consolidation into a confirmed weekly trend change. And next thing you know, we are quickly approaching November if that plays out. But we're not going to see weekly consolidation unless we lose the daily uptrend. So the daily uptrend is our guide. And right now for SPY, anything above 410.22 will be a daily high or low next time we consolidate. And it is IWM leading the way here, which is a representation of some of the higher risk, higher reward names in the market, smaller cap names. So we've started looking at psychedelic names first because their charts are much stronger for the bulls. CMPS has found a temporary top. We topped out at 2150 and started daily consolidation with a much bigger pullback on Thursday. And again, it just shows you the high risk, high reward nature of this market, I should say of this sector, where over a period of 5 days, you get a bull move plus 46%, which is averaging 9% a day. Again, that's wild. And then you get a pullback over 4 days of 20%, averaging a 5% drop every day. Those are very significant moves in both directions. So that's why these sectors benefit high risk, high reward. You know, back when I only had a few $1,000s, swing trading cannabis stocks is where I looked to level up my account. But obviously there's extra risk with that as well. So for me, if I'm not looking to be extra risk on, but I still want exposure to the sector, I just use smaller position sizes. You know, the position size that I'm going to use on Tesla is going to be much larger than a position size I'll use on these individual names. They're also very subject to headlines. And so we have the pullback here, and this is the dip buying that I'm talking about. In the strongest uptrends, you see oversold conditions on the hourly time frame lead to bottoms being set. And what I mean by that is you hit hourly oversold, you then confirm an hourly trend change, and then you see daily continuation of the uptrend. That's how you know it is significant dip buying. If you see hourly oversold conditions and it then results in an eventual lower low, that shows you a less strong market. So if you go back and look at blue sky breakouts in crypto or I haven't looked at the Canadian cannabis space back on its blue sky run, but I assume it was the same thing, where hourly oversold conditions marked daily higher lows, and those were the times to be looking for entries. So CMPS I actually bought at the end of the day on Thursday, but I did get shaken out. And I entered 1748. I sold a quarter of the position at 1768 on this bounce. I was going to sell another quarter of the position at 1788, which unfortunately did not trigger. And that might have made the difference in the trade. Because we closed at the low of the day, and because it's a ticker that I have not traded very often, and because it is more thinly traded, there's not a ton of liquidity, which shows that 45, 20% pullback. That's your lack of liquidity allowing for those kinds of significant moves. But I was not comfortable holding that name in a swing position with a close at the low of the day. So had I sold half of my position and gotten my break even from 1748 down to 1728, it would have been a different story. But I only sold a quarter of my position, and then by the end of the day, I just exited pretty much break even to not have that extra risk. And then on Friday, we get significant broader market strength and significant bounce follow through. So I personally don't have any regrets in terms of, yes, it was a missed opportunity for the bulls, but I have to stick to my rules as far as where I'm comfortable adding risk. And because I already have a swing trade in ATAI, I did not want to double down on that weak close for CMPS. But congrats to the bulls that did buy that dip. I certainly know some Chart Guys members did have a bit more tolerance for that risk and a nice 8% bounce off of those lows, a little bit more than that. So the question now into next week is, can the bulls confirm an hourly trend change by breaking the high of, essentially it's a daily inside bar, not exactly because we broke the low of Thursday by 8 pennies, but pretty much a double bottom. Had to break the high of Friday on Monday to continue holding daily EMA 12 and to continue this strong move. I am keeping an eye out for weekly consolidation, and I will be watching a back test of EMA previous resistance and now support as it attempts a bull cross here. And this is again the same as the MACD because it's EMA 12 and 26, and the MACD is measured with EMA 12 and 26. So essentially attempting a bull MACD cross. We have not seen weekly consolidation since $8.30. So a real patient bull is waiting for a weekly higher low to be scouting that entry. And again, in an ideal world, the broader market and the sector pulls back for a weekly higher low. End of August, maybe early September, confirms the weekly trend change into late September, maybe early October. And then next thing you know, we are coasting into that ideally bullish environment as far as headlines and attention to the sector are concerned. So just something to be keeping an eye out for, bigger picture. But for now, bulls are attempting to maintain a strong daily uptrend. ATAI is tightening up here, had a nice bull strong start to the week, set a support level at 432, and this is just a tightening range where we've got, let's see if it's clear on the 4 hour. So essentially, we've got our high, low the pullback, lower high, higher low, lower high, higher low. So just, and actually that's after hours action. Ignore that, there's zero volume behind it. But bottom line is we're tightening up into earnings. If it's a bullish earnings reaction, we're going to be looking up towards 5 psychological. And if it's a bearish earnings reaction, we're going to have to be cautious because a bearish earnings reaction will be looking back to weekly support of 351, and it will be a weekly trend change with no follow through, which means possibly a monthly bear flag. So bulls would really like to see a bullish reaction to keep the daily uptrend going and to keep this name strong in its first weekly uptrend ever since it began trading. CYBN, personally not really paying much attention to this name. Daily consolidation underway here as well. Tons of space for a daily higher low, anything above 58 cents. Hourly time frame needs to see an hourly trend change back to the bulls. Didn't quite get to hourly oversold, but by the low of the day on Friday, we were very close. That hourly RSI was in the low 30s. And again, bulls want to see hourly RSI getting bought aggressively to not get very oversold. But we did break 86 cents. We need a bit more follow through for it to be convincing. So if the bulls were able to set a daily higher low and see continuation, there will be a shift underway here as well. First weekly uptrend since all-time highs. Same thing as ATAI. And same thing as what MSOS is trying to do, which we'll look at here in just a moment for US cannabis. Also, just one note, whenever I put these videos out, I get 15 people messaging me about how their stock is the one for the sector. That's great. I hope it goes to 1 million, but I have very clear criteria of the names that I'm interested in based on dollar volume. And as you know, anybody that is going to be a full-time trader has very clear criteria of rules that they establish for their trading to allow them to do it full-time. So I appreciate the suggestions, but I am not interested in any names that have insignificant dollar volume that trade as a penny stock. Maybe someday they'll get enough dollar volume that I will be interested, and at that point you'll be rolling in the money. I hope so, but don't take it personally when I'm not looking at your favorite pick for the sector, because I just don't care at all if it has less than millions of dollars traded a day. It's that simple. PSIL, I don't care at all about this ETF aside from observing it because of its dollar volume. So the highest dollar volume day recently was $500,000 traded. And when I'm measuring volume, like I just did, I'm taking a very rough estimation. I'm looking at 140,000 shares. I'm looking at the midway point of the daily range, and I will just very roughly say, all right, well, 100,000 shares times 340, that's 340,000. Add another half to that, 500,000. So it's very rough, but it's close enough to give me the information that I need. So just want to share that that's how I am measuring dollar volume on the fly, as I do often. But PSIL, what I am interested in is the increasing average volume. Have this average volume increase for the next 3 months, and then we're getting somewhere. The first day that we have $1 million traded, we can party. I guess we already had $1 million back here, that top. The next time we see $1 million traded in a day for PSIL, it'll be notable to me as far as the continuing shift in attention. So on to Canadian cannabis. And again, the psychedelic sector is clearly stronger out of Canadian and US cannabis with the moves they've seen off of our fear lows over the last 6 weeks or so. CGC, definitely still watching for a bull break. Again, as long as the broader market is grinding higher, I'm watching the cannabis sectors for a potential breakout because the scales can very quickly tilt from fear to FOMO if enough shorts get squeezed. And the bulls have been slow and steady keeping their control with the hourly uptrend. And we've had great opportunity in both directions still in this sector. So CGC back here pulled back 12%. And then it goes up 22%. And then it pulls back 11%. So it's going double-digit percentage in both directions very often. And again, that makes it tricky to swing trade. If you're going for high risk, high reward and want the big gains associated with a longer term swing, you have to sit through double-digit percentage pullbacks. That for me is very difficult to do because my whole trading style is not seeing that kind of retracement. It's locking in gains before that size of a pullback takes place. But because of that, I missed the 100% move that a swing trade can potentially give. But for CGC, we are keeping a steady climb. I like the 4 hour. I don't generally use the 4 hour time frame for stocks, but as far as the uptrend is concerned here, it's nice and clear. 251, 284. Some of these levels are seen in extended hours, but close enough. 312. So I can say if 312 continues to hold for the bulls, they keep complete control. Bulls want the break at 352 with some follow through. We're in an area with a lack of resistance after 352. We're looking up at 361 and 386. Couple little levels there. The volume is increasing as far as just the average 20-day volume from a month plus ago. It was down at 5 million shares traded, and now we're up at 13 million. So that's certainly a big uptick in volume. Bull cross of the EMAs on the daily time frame for the first time in over 3 months. And just following through with our monthly bounce. Again, the stronger growth names started these monthly bounces a while ago. The biotech sector is the best example. We're now on month number 3 of the bounce. And so cannabis is trying to be the laggard growth names, just now getting this monthly bounce underway. TLRY, sideways the last few days. And again, the volatility will give you whiplash in both directions here. Same deal as what we saw with CGC. You pull back 13%, then you bounce 8%. You get the idea. But one thing that is very clear on TLRY is, again, the dip buying, where bulls are defending support. Look at this 379 level. This is the level for TLRY short term. We held it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And if you want to call Monday morning 6 times, go for it. So we keep holding this level, and it keeps acting as a great support to play off of. If you're making an entry in the 380s and you're putting your stop under 379, you're risking 5 to 10 cents. And your reward has been 34 cents and 60 cents and 50 cents and just now 20 cents. So your reward is consistently more than your risk, which is going to continue to entice bulls to buy off of that support. So essentially, there are 2 ways to look at this. You can say, if bulls keep 379 support, they keep complete control. And we're just patiently waiting for another leg up. You can also look at this and say, if 379 breaks, it's a notable shift in momentum back to the bears. And that may be a level to short if 379 breaks. Ideally, I wouldn't want to see, 5 and 15 minute RSIs really beat up on a break of 379 and then short at that point. It depends on how it would shape up on the shorter term timeframes. But the simple statement is bulls keep control of this bounce if 379 is support. And essentially just trying to establish a new range of supply and demand, and seeing that supply and demand doing this right now in the back and forth and trying to see it level out a little bit before the scales tilt in one direction or the other. And if the bulls are able to follow through, it looks like CGC would break first to higher highs. It definitely would. With how we are positioned, CGC needs 6% for higher highs, whereas TLRY needs 10%. That changes on a daily basis. Sometimes CGC is stronger, sometimes it's weaker. These are the two names that I day trade the most. And again, trading them in both directions. But TLRY has my interest as a bull as long as 379 is holding. And we'll see if we can get another leg up. Again, back testing and holding these EMA supports is a good sign for bulls keeping some control. You can also look at this and say, well, compared to the broader stock market, we didn't really do much this week. The broader stock market had a great Wednesday, Thursday, Friday into the close, and cannabis was not participating in that notable strength. But again, it's keeping control. And out of curiosity, CGC divided by SPY shows us relative strength and weakness. And again, just keeping an eye out for the possibility of another leg up in this sector if the broader market bulls keep their control and keep grinding up this coming week. Cron had bearish earnings reaction. VFF looks a lot like Cron. They are weaker in the sense that now we have space for a potential daily lower high. We pulled back very significantly, 20% from those highs. And ACB is close to a bull break as well. After 177, there's a lack of resistance until 2 psychological. So keep an eye on ACB as well. So I'd put CGC, ACB, then TLRY. And then I put in a different category Cron and VFF as far as their daily charts are just different from each other with the current setup. US Cannabis, MSOS, still battling, still sticking around, trying to shape up the first weekly uptrend. So again, we topped out on the bounce initially up at $13. We set a quick weekly higher low at 1096, which is now the most important support to me. We need a bull volume spike and a break at 13 to confirm the first weekly uptrend, which is a higher low and a higher high for the first time since all-time highs. And again, that's what had me interested in ATAI, and that entry is going well for the time being. We'll see what earnings do. But I was interested in ATAI for setting up the first weekly uptrend since all-time highs, and MSOS is trying to do it as well. Look at the weekly EMA 12. Aside from 1 week where we closed above it, it has been resistance. I mean, it's just a brick wall. It has been resistance since March 2021. So we're talking 18 months. This has been resistance aside from 1 week. And we're battling and trying to get over that level. So if we can look at this and say it's the first time it's support, if we get the bull break, it's the first time it's support in 18 months, that's obviously very notable to us as far as a shift taking place. But the bulls still have the proving to do to get over that level this coming week. As far as the individual MSOs, going to go through them very quick here. VRNOF is the weakest. It hit a new all-time low over the past few weeks while we've been bouncing. So that clearly makes it stand out weaker. GTBIF is clearly stronger. Already in a little weekly higher low and higher high. Already closing above weekly EMA 12 resistance. The monthly bounce is underway. And so now we're going to zoom out and remind ourselves we are just scouting a monthly lower high, but let's see how long bulls can maintain the daily uptrend. And our last little higher low was 986, so anything above that keeps the bulls in control. Nice strong close at the high of the week. So GTBIF closed like SPY did. And as far as next resistance, 1149 is a little resistance zone here. So keeping an eye on that level. But clearly, I will say, GTBIF is the strongest individual major out of the top 5 that I look at, major USMJ. TDNNF is sideways. Have to see a bull break. Have to get over 14 or bears keep control. The burden is on bulls to break this tightening range in their favor to join the monthly bounce. CRLBF, same deal. We're sideways. We're very tight. Can't get much tighter, which tells us volume and volatility are coming, lining up with earnings early next week. Looks like that is Wednesday. Have to get over 380 for continuation. CURLF, also range bound. If we do not break 646, it's just a lower high. So high, low, double top, higher low. Anything under 646 is just another lower high in this long, drawn out tightening range. So we're keeping an eye on that resistance in the short term. So overall, GTBIF nice and strong. If the entire sector looked like GTBIF, there'd be a lot more bullish sentiment out there on social media. So let's see if the names that are sideways can join the bulls and help MSOS break 13 to confirm the weekly trend change. Again, keeping a close eye on the broader market. Weekly consolidation will be inevitable, but if the broader market bulls keep this grinding daily uptrend going, and it's this slow grind FOMO that is starting to present itself in the market. And we'll see how long that can keep up. And as long as it does keep up, again, there is confidence out there in crypto. There's confidence in psychedelics. There's starting to try and build some confidence in the weakest of the weak sector. Cannabis. Bulls need to show up with volume. Feel free to ask any questions. I appreciate you watching. Have a great weekend.